Hey, I'm Dave, and you're listening to another episode of Dying to Listen podcast, presented by the Disc Golf Dyers Guild. And this is the business edition, where we talk about business. Today, we have Jillian from Happy Tree Dyes. Thank you, Jillian, for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me.
Well, if you guys have not seen her podcast or other things that she has been a part of with the Dyers Guild, go check that out. If you want to learn, again, more about her disc dyeing and disc dyeing process, highly recommend to go check out her podcast. But today, we're going to talk about the business side of things. But for people who have not heard her podcast or have a background, Jillian, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started in disc dyeing?
Well, I'm Jillian with Happy Tree Dyes. I first started dyeing back in 2019, like late 2019, early 2020. We had been playing a lot of disc golf, and we had a friend who knew I was into art, and he kept encouraging me to check out disc dyeing. He would show me pictures of dyed discs and tell me hey, you should really, take a look at this. And I kept kind of ignoring it, and then eventually I got bored one night and I looked up a video on how to do it, and ended up just doing a simple hot dip. I just got the dye poly black, and then I think I got just some clear contact paper from the Dollar Tree or something. Hand cut a little stencil, and that was the end. I just kept going.
Yeah, that's hand cutting those stencils, that's crazy, especially for your first dyes.
Right. Yeah, I know the hot dip was kind of the hardest way to go, I think. I don't know why I decided to do that first. It might have just been the first video that I watched. But yeah, after hand cutting, I think I did 2 hand cut stencils before I was like, okay, time to buy a Cricut.
Smart move. So, what got you inspired to turn your disc dyeing into an actual business and trying to make money off of it?
Mainly, it just started to become a really expensive hobby. After I exhausted all of the discs from getting from friends, hey, let me test this out. Let me dye one of your discs. They ran out of those because I had just dyed them all. And then I kept wanting to dye, so then I started buying discs to dye. And then I was like, okay, we gotta either limit how many discs I'm dyeing, which that wasn't gonna happen, to be honest. Or we need to start making money off of this. So I just, set it up and went from there.
Do you remember the first disc you actually sold for bunnies?
I don't actually. I want to say it was within our friend group. I got to the point where they were actually decent, and then my friends were like, "Oh, here, we want to actually pay you." So I think it was something like that, but I can't remember exactly what disc it was.
Do you remember what year that was, or what day?
It was probably early 2020, I'd say.
Nice. Yeah. So, what were the first steps that you took to set up your disc dyeing business? Well, it seems like a lot of disc dyers kind of gradually get into it and build up to it. Is that what you did, or did you kind of start all in and just hog wild?
Definitely all in. Once I decided that it was going to be a business, I got it set up pretty quickly. I came from a business accounting background, so that part wasn't too intimidating for me. The main thing was just deciding how I wanted to sell them. Etsy seemed to be the easiest and the biggest market online. So that's what I chose. Really quickly just set up a sole proprietorship and got the business license. And then I figured I'd kind of send people to my Etsy from Instagram. And honestly, the Instagram was harder than the Etsy for me because I had never done any social media. So setting up the Instagram and starting that was kind of weird, but it worked out.
Nice. So I temporarily forgot about your background, which is perfect for this. Can you explain to people a little bit about your background outside of disc dyeing?
Yeah. So my degree is in finance. I graduated in 2018 with a finance degree. And I've been in accounting for like several years, leading up to the transition when I went from accounting to disc dyeing.
Do you think that accounting background has helped you in your business?
A lot, yeah. A lot. Just general like business knowledge that I got from being in business school, I think helped a lot. Just with making business decisions, keeping track of business expenses, obviously, and that kind of thing. It made it a lot easier, I think.
Gotcha. So if you were going to recommend a dyer to start their business, what would be the first couple of steps that you would have them do?
I guess the same way I did, just decide how you're going to get your products out there. Are you going to do it all online? Are you planning to go to tournaments and sell? Are you going to sell in person? Are you doing all of the above? And get a business license for sure.
So when you say business license, can you explain that to people who do not know what that is or entails?
Oh, it's awful. You have to pay taxes. You have to pay taxes on the money that you make, obviously, from your business. So you have to register it with the IRS. I think Etsy actually requires you to have... Yeah, I think it does. I think Etsy requires you to have a tax ID to be able to sell on that platform. So that would probably be one of the first things that you run into when you try to sell online.
Yeah, I think if anything, Etsy does require either an EIN number, which is an employer identification number, which you get with... I can't remember if you have to do that before you create or formalize the business or after. But the EIN number is just basically your social security number for your business, if I understand that correctly, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And I think they collect taxes and remit for you, which is great because you don't have to worry about that at all.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, Etsy. There's pluses and minuses to Etsy. I'm curious to hear what your pluses and minuses are, then I will tell you mine.
It's expensive. Like their fees are pretty high.
Yeah.
That's I think that's the big minus. A plus would be it's a big market. It's not specific to disc golf, which I kind of think isn't a plus. And they do take care of the taxes for you, so that's a plus, I would say.
Yeah, their fees can be high, and they have some other sneaky things that they do to take your money that you have to opt out of sometimes, like additional marketing. Because I got hit with that once where they charged like $15 for marketing and advertisement, because that's how that item got sold, is through that marketing, which is like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, watch them.
Yeah. The plus is it's obviously a larger marketplace, and people, if they do search for a dye discs, they can stumble across your things. And I feel like you can also get down the rabbit hole of I don't know, SEO terms, and kind of sneaking your way in there for other search terms as well. There's like a whole side hustle culture with Etsy and trying to get seen and known. The downside, more downsides for Etsy is I feel like a lot of people on there are undercutting to try to make the sale. So it's the race at the bottom of the price war, which is not very good. I don't like that. But yeah. If you were to do it again, would you pick Etsy or would you do something else?
I would probably go with Etsy again. I've done pretty well on there, and I stayed there the whole time, and not doing it as much anymore, but it worked, and I didn't have any problems with it really, except for it being kind of expensive.
Do you have any tips or tricks or advice for people who want to try out Etsy?
Um, Tips and tricks. You can copy a listing, so you don't have to sit there and make a new listing every time you put a disc on there. Other than that, it's pretty user-friendly, and there's a lot of information online to show you how to do things. So I'd say that's a plus to Etsy as well. Just readily available information.
Gotcha. Do you solicit anybody for reviews, or has that all been just kind of organic?
No, that's just organic. I know a lot of people get reviews by offering like a discount if they leave a review or something, which is a great idea, but I never did that. People are just nice and leave reviews.
Yeah, I feel like that social proof helps for the buyer to have trust in the seller, that they're not just some random person on the internet selling dyed disc. Do you know how many sales you've had through Etsy so far?
I know it's over. I know I hit 1,000 sometime, I want to say earlier this year, but I don't know where it is now, honestly. I want to say like 1,200-ish.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I have a disc in every state now. I was really excited about that milestone. Alaska
Nice.
and Hawaii too.
It's kind of jealous of the disc that went to Hawaii.
I know, right?
So you said you kind of went all in. Was there any other monetary investment that you've done when you first started your business?
The Cricut was like the big thing, and I pretty much did that just like straight off the bat because I figured I'd use it for other stuff too, and I have. It's just a nifty little machine.
Nice.
But other than that, like I had to buy, I couldn't buy any like sample colors, so I had to buy all of that Pro Chem dye, and that was pretty darn expensive. Yeah, it was quite a bit of money up front.
What did you do, or how did you initially market your disc dye business to attract customers?
I started just posting pictures on Instagram back when you could just like grow an account really quickly by posting pictures on Instagram. And then that grew pretty quickly, and people just started going to my Etsy from Instagram. And then I think I did pay for marketing on Etsy when I first started, just to get the ball rolling a little bit.
Gotcha. Do you feel like starting when you started helped you versus if you had to start now? Do you think you'd have more difficulty starting now?
I think it is so much harder starting now. There's so much more competition. Like I was saying with Instagram, it's you can only do it with reels now. Like I was just posting like a single picture of a disc and getting followers from that, and it's just a lot harder to get followers on Instagram now. And yeah, there's so many people are dying now. It's like you said, people are like lowering their prices, so you're competing with people that are trying to sell their discs for $29. So yeah, it's I wouldn't start over again now, unfortunately.
All right. Well, don't let that discourage you from starting.
Yeah, you can still do it. It's fine.
Yeah. And the other podcast we talked about, the other dyers that I talked about for the business side of things, talked about how much harder it is and how much more you need to do to stand out from the crowd, because there is, I don't want to say a lot of noise, but there is a lot of competition. And there are ways in my mind that you can stand out besides lowering your price. Don't undervalue your work and time. This is technically art. Yes, it's being thrown, and yes, it does fade. But I think the best analogy that I can come up with is a tattoo artist. Tattoos do fade over time too, and it's on your body. So definitely don't undervalue your time and effort. Yeah, otherwise it's just a race to the bottom.
Yeah, that's the thing, and it hurts everyone when you price your stuff low. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, I feel like a lot of artists kind of devalue themselves. Like, they think, oh, I did it, so it can't be that hard, therefore it's not worth anything.
Uh-huh.
No, it's a business, and you got to make money. And I think people just aren't really accounting for the amount of time that it takes.
Yeah.
A lot of time. Because I see discs that look like they took 4 to 5 hours, and they're charging like $35-$40 for it. It hurts. I hate to see it.
Yeah. I feel like there's dyers out there that are trying to make money from it. Then there's dyers that are just trying to make money to supply their dyeing addiction, which I can see them, having lower price because they don't really matter of making money. They don't care about making money. They just want to supply their disc dyeing habit, which is fine. But yeah, the other thing that I wanted to talk to you about, a lot, besides many things, obviously, because I feel like there's 2 avenues that you can go with this business. You can do one-of-a-kind boutique things that are more expensive, or you can do mass quantity things that are easier to produce but at a lower price point.
Mm-hmm.
Which direction did you decide to go in?
I did both. I mainly for Etsy, I did like the mass production with like glue beds and cell dyes and stuff like that. But then I would also do custom stuff on the side, just through like DMs on Instagram or in person. But those were priced higher, obviously. So I don't know. I know people normally pick one or the other, but I did both the whole time.
Yeah, obviously you said you priced them differently. I guess this question is going to be a bit long. We can kind of break it up, but can you walk us through your typical workflow from receiving an order to completing a dye disc? And this is for just say custom orders.
Yeah. So for a custom order, typically it would be somebody messaging me on Instagram. They would send me like a picture and say, like, this is kind of what I want. I would quote them a price. If they agreed to it, I'd have them ship me the disc. I used to provide the disc, but I stopped doing that just because I had a couple of those fall through. I kind of got burned. So I started strictly having people ship me the disc that they wanted dyed, like even if I had it in stock, because I felt like that at that point they had a little bit of skin in the game. So after I started doing that, it was fine. I didn't have any trouble with people. So they'd ship me the disc. Then I would dye it, send a picture back, and if they liked it, they would pay me, and then I would ship it back to them. So that's pretty much that.
All right, so I got a few questions. Main question, why did you wait till the disc was dyed to get payment rather than upfront?
I don't know. I always did it that way. I kind of wanted them to see it. A lot of times I would get a tip out of it too. So I would give them a price, and then if they really liked it, they would pay me more money, which is great. And I just wanted to make sure that they were satisfied before they had already paid me. So getting the money up front wasn't really that big of a concern, especially since they had shipped me the disc. So they were out of disc if they, and then I could just sell it. I could just throw it up on Etsy and sell it anyway.
Yeah.
If anything happened.
I find it, there's a few dyers that got payment after the dye disc was done, and they didn't really have a whole lot of issues, but I find that interesting. But I like your method where you have them send you a disc because they have skin in the game. My other recommendation would be to have a deposit if you have to provide the disc or whatever, but having their skin in the game does help, so they're not so flaky and kind of ghost you.
Yeah, I never had any trouble after that. So,
but that is also an interesting point about payment after and the tip. I never thought about that.
Yeah, if you like blow their expectations out of the water, a lot of the time they would be like, oh, here's like $5 or $10 extra.
So where were you accepting payment and how did you do that? Or do you do that?
I set up Venmo, PayPal, and Cash App. I just wanted to make sure they had multiple ways to pay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm just the whole tip thing has got me thinking now. So whatever payment processing that you do, make sure there's a tip button.
Yeah, I had that happen quite a few times. Definitely recommend it. I guess like it's good to like if you have a disc on hand and they want that dyed, I would do like what you said and have them put in deposit or pay up front for sure. You can do it either way. I just I was getting so many orders that I just like I needed to keep it consistent. I didn't want to have to sit there and think like, is this person shipping the disc? Is this person do I already have it in stock? Like it started to get really confusing when I had a lot of orders. I actually had like a spreadsheet going at one point with notes and all kinds of crap in there, and it's a lot to keep track of.
And that is going to be the next question. How did you deal with all these orders and like what was your maximum number of orders that you had at one time?
I know at one point I had to scroll down on a spreadsheet, but I don't I don't know how many like lines there were. It was around Christmas time, but it was extremely stressful. I had been between 20 and 30 orders on there. Yeah. That's about when I decided that they all needed to ship me the disc.
No, that's good. Keeping it simple. Great tip there.
Right.
What information were you keeping track of on that spreadsheet?
How to contact them was the main one because I had people coming at me from like 4 different directions, like in person, Instagram, Facebook, Etsy. So I'd have like their username and like where they were contacting me, how to contact them, the disc that they were shipping, the quoted amount that I told them it would be, the timeline that I said I'd have it done in, and I think I had like links to pictures and like notes that they had, like I just put notes in there about what they wanted.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it worked. I know one of my friends, Andy, he's making an app, or he was working on an app to be able to track orders, like specifically for disc dyeing.
I might have to reach out to him.
I think you should. I think a lot of people would like that.
Yeah. Somewhere in this podcast, you will hear a house ad about what's going to be happening. So stay tuned for that, I guess. Hey, it's Future Dave here. And if you're tuning in, you're probably serious about taking your disc dyeing hobby to the next level. Well, I got something just for you, the Disc Dyers Business Builder. It is your all-in-one solution to kickstart or level up your business. With your own dedicated website to sell your creations, a streamlined commission management system, tools for vending at events with real-time inventory management, a full suite of print and digital marketing templates, and a personal business consultation with experts with over 17 years of experience. This is everything you need to succeed. Are you ready to make it happen? Sign up now to stay in the loop and start building your dream business. Head over to dyersguild.co/businessbuilder and let's get started. So yeah, keeping track of things is very important. I feel like you're at home with your spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Let's see. So you track it, you do it. Do you give them like any in progress updates while you're doing the disc, or is it just like you have your communication, you dye it, then you send them a picture of the final thing?
Yeah, nothing in between. Like if if I knew that it was gonna take longer than what I had said, I would like reach out and be like, hey, this is happening. Might be a little late on the deadline. But other than that, it was just the initial kind of figuring out what the design needs to be, and then bam, completed photo.
Yeah, bam.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, well,
but
I would let them know when I got the disc that they shipped, because a lot of people
okay,
wanted to know that.
yeah, makes sense. So backing up, so people were contacting you multiple ways, which I find interesting. I say interesting because, keeping it simple method, it would be nice to have one point of contact. Like anybody that comes to you is like, hey, go to this forum type thing.
Yes.
But anyways, what questions were you asking these customers that were looking to get a die disc done by you?
It would typically just be like more about the design, and then making sure that they were shipping me the right disc. Because I know more than once I told them like it has to be a white premium plastic, and I would like open up the box and it was like an orange disc. So so yeah, mainly that, just like letting them know what the disc needed to be, and making sure they had the right expectations on the design. Because, a lot of times they'll send you a design that you can't do. Photorealism and stuff, like, or stuff that you just didn't want to do. So just getting their expectations on par was like a lot of that initial conversation.
Yes, that has been a common theme and very important. Make sure you set expectations up front of what you can do, what your price, and basically everything, so there's no assuming. Assuming is very bad. Damn it, there was a question I was going to ask, but now I forgot.
Right. The other thing is, like, you don't have to take every request. I feel like I did that in the beginning where I was just like, yes. I just, anything they wanted, I'm like, yes, just because I wanted to, like, get the business and have them tell their friends and get more business and stuff. But there's a lot of those I should have just said, no, I don't want to do that.
Yes, it is okay to say no. Because that reminded me of the question I was going to ask is, was there any work that you declined or you said no to because either you couldn't do it or wouldn't want to do it?
Yeah, both. Once I started to hit my stride, I started to, I got a lot of like, I don't like doing the sports team logos. Everyone knows, everyone knows I hate doing sports team logos. So I would tell them like, I'm not doing this, but I know someone who will, and I would just send them to a different die artist.
Yes. Technically, you're not supposed to reproduce any sports ball logos without getting licensing permission.
Right. Yeah. That's
Also
totally
Disney.
why I didn't want to do it.
Yeah. Disney will crack down on you hard.
Oh, they did. Yeah. I did a Death Note one, like Ryuk from Death Note, when I first started, and I don't know, I put it up on Etsy, and I was like, nothing's gonna happen, because I saw this other like Disney stuff up on there, and nobody else ever gets in trouble. So I put it up on there, and sure enough, like within a week, I get like a cease and desist.
Mm-hmm.
So I took it down. But
yeah, it's a good thing that Etsy does it, but it can be a downside. I know Etsy is very stringent on copyrighted material, and you always wonder, how the hell are these people selling like these Disney SVG files?
right? I don't know.
I don't get it. I know my wife got flagged because she was selling American Girl doll clothes that she made, but you can't do that because of American Girl doll. So, very good, but bad. And don't do copyrighted materials. Do your own. So yeah. How were you or are you shipping your discs? Like, what are you using for shipping? And what kind of like packaging have you been doing or using?
I started off with the bubble mailers, just the real simple bubble mailer, and I switched to the one disc box last year. I had like a couple of complaints about discs like Vending in the mailbox, and I was just like, I was thinking about doing the box anyway, so I switched. Now I just have the one disc box in a little Ziploc bag.
Right on. Are you going through Etsy to do all the shipping, or are you going through another third-party shipper?
Oh, no, I use Pirate Ship.
Nice.
I like Pirate Ship. I started off using Etsy, and then someone else told me about Pirate Ship, and I've just been using that ever since.
Yeah, Pirate Ship is the bomb. Also, it can automatically connect to Etsy, which is very nice.
Yeah, so nice.
And Pirate Ship can also connect to your own website if you decide to do something like that. Wink, wink, not done. Let's see. What techniques have you found to be the most popular or profitable?
People like my glue beds a lot, and I think that's probably the most profitable, just because it's not as much materials. Glue's cheaper than Floetrol. Yeah, glue beds. Final answer.
All right, $1 million question.
Yeah. Well, you can make pretty good money off the customs too if you price it right. That's the thing.
Yeah. So, speaking of pricing, how the hell did you come up with your prices for your discs? Either, I guess I would call them pre-dyed that go like in your Etsy shop, and customs.
I looked at the market to start off with just to see what everyone else was charging. And then I kind of just took into the amount of time that it would take me to do one, and the materials. And after I looked at it and subtracted all the materials out, I kind of figured everyone actually was pricing their stuff right. So I kind of just priced them around the same amount.
Have you changed? Oh, go ahead.
With the custom ones, I tried to give myself like an hourly rate. So I'll kind of estimate how long it'll take me to do one, which is so hard to do. A lot of the times in your head, you're like, oh, this part will only take me like 30 minutes, and you're an hour and a half in, and you're like, crap. But you get better at it as you go. But yeah, I try to just give myself like an hourly rate when I think it's worth it for me. And that's going to be a little different from everybody. But for me, I had that and then materials.
So if you ever did a home improvement project, it's only going to take a day and it's going to cost this much. Times that by 3, maybe even 4. And
Right.
you get the correct answer. Have you changed your pricing over the years? And what is your current pricing for that?
Yeah, I definitely raised prices since I started. I think I was probably selling them for 30 to 35 on Etsy when I first started. And now I think I'm at 45 for everything. Yeah. Yeah, that's good for me because I still buy most of my discs retail. So I don't really buy a whole lot wholesale. Yeah.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, side note, you do work for a retail company. Do you get a discount through them, or do you just kind of do your own thing and buy discs?
I haven't really been dying since I started managing the store, but I do get 40% off, so I could hypothetically get a pretty good deal through that.
Hypothetically. Gotcha.
Yeah.
If you get an EIN number or an official business, you can get wholesale accounts through the disc manufacturers, which is nice because the discs are at wholesale price rather than retail price, which can help with the profit margin. Downside is they usually have a minimum order quantity to buy. That's usually around $300, give or take on the manufacturer. And there are some manufacturers that you actually need a brick and mortar store like Innova.
MVP.
I know they won't. What, MVP requires a brick and mortar store now?
I thought they did, yeah. I could be wrong.
I have a wholesale account, so that's a
Oh, then
lie.
they don't anymore. Yeah, they did when I first started, and I tried to get a wholesale account. They wouldn't let me.
Well, thank God they changed that. But yeah, and when you do buy wholesale, the manufacturers have been getting good at having dyers to light specific discs, but you can't get every mold in white or specific, like bottom stamps. You can request it if they don't have that option, but it's not guaranteed. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's a big thing that's changed over the past few years. When I first started, you couldn't just specifically get white discs. Now almost every manufacturer you can get at least some of the molds in white or blank. It's awesome.
Yeah. So you say you do $45, and that's for like the pre-dyed disc that you have on Etsy. What is your average like commission price? I know that's going to vary because you have the hourly rate, but what's the range on that?
Yeah, probably in like the $50 to $60 is normally. I've gotten them as high as I think 120. So yeah, but they do take a lot of time, especially if it's like a hot dip, multiple process. I mean, hot dip, glue bed, lotion. That's gonna take several hours. So
Yes, all the methods.
yep. And then the shipping's gone up. Used to be like under $5. Now it's probably $5 to $6 a disc. So
Yes, and that's another question I was going to ask. Do you charge shipping, or is that included?
I just account for it when I price everything out. So I pay to ship back. They pay to ship to me, and I pay to ship back.
Gotcha. So yeah, okay. You have to pay for the shipping, which is like $5 to $6. You have to pay for the packing material, which is maybe $1 or $2. Then you have to buy your materials. Then also the tax man takes part of that. Like, how much money do you actually profit from a disc sale?
Right? And then you probably got some stickers or some little marketing stuff in there too. I don't know how people are making money charging like $29 for a die.
No, you're losing money.
They're losing money.
Yeah, if someone is charging $29, they buy the disc at retail, say $18. 5, 6, 7, 8. Making like pennies.
Right?
Yeah. It can be hard to figure out what to price your disc at, and that is all up to you. But an easy rule of thumb that I found is if you can sell it and buy 2 more discs to make and sell, really. So you're at least growing and not really in the hole. So yeah.
Yep. And I'll charge less in person too. But typically if I go vend at a tournament, I'll take everything that I have on my Etsy, but I'll take like $5 off of all of them. So, because obviously you're not shipping at that point.
Yes.
And no Etsy fees.
Yeah, this is very true. I've personally done, if I saw something that they had listed on Etsy, I will message the seller directly. It's like, hey, I'll send you like money via PayPal or Venmo so you don't have to deal with all this Etsy crap.
Right?
Yeah. And speaking of vending, have you done a lot of vending at events?
Yeah, definitely vended at quite a few tournaments. It's usually pretty successful. The bigger the tournament, obviously, the more you're going to sell. And like I said, just knock a few bucks off and people will typically respond. Another thing that's really fun to do is if you have a turntable and you do spin dies, like doing it out at the tournament always gets a lot more people, like at least around your area, to watch you do that. So yeah, vending at tournaments is always fun too.
Yeah. So the Dyers Guild, we do have the record player where we have a community spin die, and you can steal this if you want. But my go-to line is, would you guys like to do a line? It usually makes them stop, laugh, and go like, it brings them in. Do you have any other tips or recommendations for disc dyers that want to vend? Like, how many discs should they bring, or any other things that you've learned over your time vending that you found valuable that you wish you knew when you first started vending?
Yeah, I'd say like less discs seems to do more than like a whole bunch of dyed discs. Like you can have too many. Like people get overwhelmed if you have too many, it seems like. I'd say a good amount to have is like 30, like 20 to 30 discs. But it also depends on the crowd and how long the event is. Is it multiple days? It's also good to have like different price points. Like have some spin dies that are maybe a little cheaper because they didn't take you as long. And then have more expensive like custom ones. And the display is really important too. You want to make sure that they can see as many of your dies as possible. You don't really want them kind of like smashed all together in a bin where they have to like sift through. So think about presenting them all at once, whether that's just like laying them all out on a table flat, that's fine, or having like little stands, or maybe having something vertical, just so people can see everything.
Nice. What kind of payments do you accept at events?
I usually do cash, Venmo, PayPal. Actually at MCO, I was able to like do a tap pay on my phone somehow. So that's the thing. I think it was through Etsy actually, or Square. I think I connected Etsy to Square, and then I was able to like take credit cards with my phone. It was like magic. What a time to be alive.
Damn, these young kids and tap to pay.
Yeah, just accept as many different payment options as you can.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Cash is king, but we literally accept anything, even bartering. I think we traded some dyed towels for some discs once.
We did at MCO.
Oh, nice. So
I
yeah.
think Austin got us some brisket.
Yeah. Yes. So yeah, don't be afraid to barter. Have you only been at disc golf events? Have you been to any other type of events like craft fairs or anything like that?
We did a like music festival. It was Abbey Road on the River. I just went with Disc Crazy, and I had some of like my dyeing set up too. We did like spin dyes out there, and that was surprisingly successful. Like people were just coming over and buying a disc so that they could spin dye it themselves, and then we had a big field bias, and they would just throw it. People will still buy them even if they're not into disc golf.
Yes. My theory is you don't have any competition because you're most likely not going to see other disc dyers at this event, so you kind of have a leg up for there. And if like a boyfriend is with a girlfriend and the girlfriend dragged the boyfriend along, and he's bored, he's like, ooh, cool disc golf things, they might go check it out and buy something. So don't be afraid to go to non-disc golf related events. You might be surprised.
Yeah, for sure.
When you're getting ready to vend an event, does it always feel like you're forgetting something, right? Trust me, I've been there too many times, and there is nothing worse than setting up your booth and realizing you left a critical piece of gear at home. That's why I put together a super handy dandy checklist just for you. It's got everything you need to remember, from booth essentials to those little things that can make or break your day. And the best part, it's completely free. Just head over to dyersguild.co/event checklist right now and download the free PDF checklist. With this in hand, you'll be fully prepared and ready to rock your next vending event. Again, that's dyersguild.co/event checklist. So, go check it out and take the stress out of vending. Do you keep an inventory of dyed discs? And if so, how many?
Yeah, I did. My goal was to have like 50 at any given time. at one point, so I would just always try to have 50 on my Etsy, and then every week I would just like build back up to that amount. So yeah, that was a good amount for me. I think a lot of other people have more. That kind of freaked me out though, because I was worried about them fading. So I didn't want to have like this huge inventory and then for some reason they like stopped selling and then they faded over time.
Mm-hmm.
So I found 50 to be a good amount.
So what do you do with discs that don't seem to be moving?
I will typically like price those down. They're easier to move in person. So yeah, I'll usually like mark those down and try to sell them at tournaments or in-person events.
How long do you wait until you actually mark it down?
That's typically like 2 to 3 months, I'd say. Once it starts looking faded, I'll take another picture of it. Like I'll go through and I'll be like, oh, this looks literally nothing like the picture. So I'll like retake the picture and then mark it down and go from there.
Gotcha.
It's a good indication it's been sitting around for a while, you know?
You're thumbing through your pile and you're like, ooh, I gotta sell this one. Yeah, that's kind of the crappy thing, because it does fade over time, and if you're not moving the disc, it sucks to be stuck with that inventory.
Right.
Have you noticed that specific molds sell faster or another? I guess where I'm getting at is, do you have to stay on top of the current trends of what's like the new and hot mold?
Absolutely. That's really, really important. You have to know, you have to know what people are looking for. It's easier to sell somebody on a good disc that they want with like an okay die than like a really amazing die on a disc they'll never throw, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I learned that one. I had this one, I thought it was like one of the best dies I'd ever done, but it was on a West Side Giant, which is like super fast and overstable. And I couldn't for the life of me figure out why no one was buying this disc. I was like, this thing is gorgeous. I'm so proud of this. Like, this one's going to go fast. And then like 2 months later, it's still there. And I'm like, oh, no one can throw it.
Yeah. Yes. What in your experience have been the molds that have been the old reliables that seem to move no matter what?
Over the past few years, it's definitely been the glitch. You can put anything on a glitch and it'll sell. It's definitely just probably like the top selling. I wouldn't be surprised if it was like the top selling disc within the past like 3 years over like every manufacturer.
Yeah.
Would not be surprised. Or anything like a Buzz. Just classics.
Do you find that working at a retail store gives you better insight of what is selling and what is not?
Yeah, definitely. I think so. Plus, I have access to all that data, so I can just like go in the system and see like, well, what were our top selling molds over the past 2 months? But you can do that online too. You can go to like Infinite and see like what are the top selling disc craft molds and kind of pick your discs based on that. It's definitely a good tip. You always want to. I try to pick things that are just like throwable. I don't die a lot of 13, 14 speed discs.
Yeah. I wouldn't recommend dyeing a groove. You never know, people don't like those.
Right.
Yeah. Let's see here. So, is disc dyeing a full-time thing, or is this just a side hustle?
Well, now I'm not even. Now I'm not even dying. It was a full-time thing for like 2 years though. It was fun.
When it was a full-time thing, was it something that you could actually live off of, or did you need to have some other supplemental income?
Well, I had a unique situation where I was employed through the store I was working at to dye disc full time. So I was actually getting paid a salary to dye discs full time. I never really made a living off of just like selling off of Etsy. It was only because I was able to do that through the store that I could do it full time.
Do you think you could ever make it a full-time thing? Like disc dyeing would be your sole thing that you ever do? And would you ever want to do that or no?
At this point, no. I don't know. I just I hit a wall and I feel like I'm just kind of done. I knew it would happen eventually, and sure enough, it did. Kind of around the same time I started managing the store, I just kind of lost all motivation and interest in doing it. But yeah, I think it could be done if you really worked hard at it and got an online store up and going, and you did a lot of customs. I know Jory was able to do it with all the customs he was doing, so definitely possible.
Mm-hmm. I feel like the Forrest Gump scene where he just stops running and is like, I'm done.
Very much. I think I'm done now. I'm going to go home.
And I guess that brings up a good point. It's like, why? I know you said that you lost interest, but is there anything or any specific reason of why you just stopped?
I just changed focus, I guess. I started really enjoying kind of working at the store and focusing on something else. I think I just got burnt out, especially with the custom stuff. It was always kind of like a creative outlet for me, and when I was doing the customs, it seemed like it was people telling me exactly what to do, and I just didn't want to do that anymore. So if I dye anything nowadays, it's just what I feel like doing, and then it goes up on my Etsy. I'm not doing any customs ever again, I don't think.
Yeah, and that's a important thing to keep in mind is if you do want to start this as a business, think to yourself, why did you start disc dyeing in the first place? And if you make your hobbies into a business, that can ruin your hobbies and the reason why you started doing it. If you got into disc dyeing to, enjoy, relax as a creative outlet, but you're like, hey, I want to make some money, and then you start it as a business. Now, like you said, you're just basically a human printer, dyer, turning out these pieces that you may not necessarily enjoy. So definitely keep that in mind. And that's the other thing that I want to mention that I've mentioned in other podcasts is put out work and show work that you like doing. Because if you post sports ball logos, people are going to see that and I want some sports ball logos, but you hate doing that. So don't put or post work that you don't want to do. Post work that you like doing, because then you'll attract more people that want that type of work.
It's excellent advice.
Yeah. But at least you're still in the disc golf realm business. Probably something that's a little bit more profitable than disc dyeing.
Hey, yeah, it's fun. I'm so glad I'm able to stay in disc golf, at least. I love just the industry and the community and the people. So yeah, I'm super excited that I'm not in accounting, and I still really enjoy I don't know, doing disc golf related stuff. So there's that. And then if I feel like dying, I can just do it and not feel pressured.
Yes.
There's no time constraints. There's no nothing. I just whenever I want to.
Yes, I feel like it's come full circle. You started because you like doing it. You made it. You got burnt out. Now you just do it again because you like it.
Right. Yeah. Getting back to the basics.
What other creative outlets do you have besides disc dyeing?
I haven't been doing a whole lot lately. The last thing I did was this giant cement turtle. It was yeah. I randomly got commissioned to paint like a 300-pound yard turtle, cement turtle.
Uh-huh.
So I did that. It was actually really fun. And I got like $300 from it. So
Nice. I never thought that you would make / paint a giant yard cement turtle.
these are the kind of jobs that I wish I could get more of. I thought about doing murals. That'd be really cool.
Yeah. I feel like you're me in some ways where you have creative ADHD, and you like to do a variety of different things.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done a lot of. I used to do like a lot of watercolors and stuff. What else? We played D&D, and I would like make the like terrain for our campaigns. I got really into that, and actually considered selling that stuff.
I feel like I feel like you can make a little bit more money doing that than disc dyeing.
Probably, yeah.
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 So, at your peak of disc dyeing, how many hours per week or day were you typically spending on that? So, let me rephrase that. Disc dyeing, but also the business side of things. So, like, everything that is business related to the disc dyeing, the communication, the shipping, the packing, the disc dyeing, the whole shebang.
My God. I was doing it like 30 hours just for the store a week. And then I was also like full on doing the Etsy and doing everything I was doing like on the side. And I swear it was probably, God, all the messaging back and forth and the taking all the pictures and uploading them and processing all the discs and the dyeing. It had to have been like 60 to 80 hours a week. Like, no lie. Like, yeah, it was a lot.
No, I believe it. What percentage of all that was actually dyeing discs?
Probably less than half, honestly.
Yeah.
Way less than half. I'm gonna say 20%.
So I don't want to scare people, but if you're running a business, there is the business side of things. Yes, the disc dyeing part is the fun part, but you also have to do the unfun parts. So that's definitely one thing to keep in mind, and keeping your expectations set or proper for that. Because I feel like a lot of creatives don't like to do the non-creative stuff.
Yeah. Like the mixing of the dye. I hate mixing dye.
Yeah. I just want to do the fun stuff.
Right? I got these ginormous bottles so I wouldn't have to like mix as often. Look at these things. Like
Yeah.
It's all separated now too. So yeah. I hated mixing dye so much. I just got these ginormous bottles. And
yeah, honestly, you don't realize how much time it takes to mix dyes. Like, I have all 50 Pro Chemical and dye colors. It's like, I'm going to mix all acetone dyes for that. A day later, I'm done.
Right.
Yeah.
There are times that I would go to, like, I wanted to dye, but I didn't have, like, I had to mix. I was sitting there and I would mix, and it would be like an hour later. And by the time I was done mixing, I was like, I no longer feel like dyeing. I'm done.
Yeah. How did you manage that dyed life balance from the business side of things versus your personal side?
Not well. I didn't have a lot of time to do like anything else. Like my husband would be like going to hang out with friends, and I would be like, "Oh, I can't. I got to finish this commission." Like, yeah.
So what you're saying is it consumes you.
It really did. It really did, and it was a good way to get burnt out real quick.
Yeah.
I found myself when I started. When I was dying for the store, I started doing like less of the Etsy stuff, and then I found myself in my spare time actually doing like strategic games, like because I was I wasn't like, I went from accounting, that I was doing accounting full time, and I would like dye for fun. But then when I started to dye full time, I somehow like wanted to like use my brain like in my spare time. So I would play like strategy games, and it was just weird. It was completely the opposite of what I was doing before.
Yeah. It again goes into the hobby versus business side of things. How long did it take for your business to become profitable?
I can't remember when I think I started my Etsy, I would say early 2021, probably about 6 months. I don't think it took that long. After I got the Instagram going, that really helped move it along. Yeah, I would say about 6 months.
Nice. Yeah. It's nice to make money rather than spend money.
For sure.
What mistakes did you make early on, and what did you learn from them?
I think dyeing the wrong discs was like the first big mistake. I remember going to the store before I worked at it. I would go to the store and any white disc, like I would go in there and just buy $300 of white discs. I didn't care what discs they were. Didn't matter. I just bought them, and I'd go home and dye them, and then I'd wonder like why some of them weren't selling.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't super knowledgeable about disc golf at that point, because I had just started playing like 6 months earlier, pretty much. So I wasn't, I didn't know like overstable, understable, like really much of anything about the actual disc. So that was probably the biggest mistake I made right out the gate. But yeah, if you know more about disc golf, you'll be on a better foot than I was. So.
Yeah. Again, knowing what molds are popular, I bet the shop owner was like, yes, I'm selling this mold. Who would have to buy this?
Right.
So I know you said you got burnt out. How were you keeping yourself motivated during those busy and tough times?
It was literally just like the stress of not wanting to like disappoint people. That's really all it was. I knew I had a deadline. I told this person that I would have it done because it was a gift for their friend's birthday, and I'm going to ruin this person's birthday if I don't get this disc done. So pretty much just that. And then I tried to take little like creative liberties when I could, on the ones where people would actually let me have some creative freedom. You're like, this is the general idea I have, but you can, you have some creative freedom. You can kind of do what you want. I kind of lived for those commissions, the ones where people would just let me do what I wanted.
Yeah, that is nice. And that goes back to the saying, post the stuff that you want to do or like doing, because you'll do more stuff like that. And having those creative liberties to use your specific artistic talents is always good.
Yeah, for sure. I always found it weird that people would, did you get a lot of designs where people would ask you to almost copy someone else's dye?
Yes, and I think it was one of my own dyes, but they didn't realize it.
Oh, that's hilarious.
I think it was like a disc dyed by Dave one, and someone contacted me through Dyers Guild or something, but yeah. But yeah, that is kind of weird. I
always got a lot of those, and I would immediately be like, yeah, Emily did that. Here's Emily's info. Like, why are you asking me,
Yeah. Well, that is interesting. I don't think I would ever do something like that if it was another dyer. I would probably contact the dyer and see, hey, this person's requesting this. Did you decline them for whatever reason?
Yeah, I think I had to do that with Kateri at one point. There was a guy who came in the shop who showed me a bunch of her stuff, and he was like, I need these on these discs. And I immediately was like, oh, I know who did those. Did you want like her information? And he just wanted me to do them because I was local.
Yeah.
So that made sense. But I told her about it.
Right on. While doing your disc dyeing, was there something that you would not compromise on with your business or disc dyeing?
I wouldn't do any designs that I thought could be like politically incorrect or like negative or any kind of like hate dyes or anything like that. One time I had somebody at the store asked me to do it was like a South Park. It was the one with the wheelbarrow with the guy's balls in the wheelbarrow. I would have done it, but I would have had to work on it like in the middle of the store. So like anybody could have literally just like walked by and like saw me working on that. So I did decline that one just because of that. I was like, I would do it, but I like kids come in here and I don't want like a little kid to like walk past by and be like, oh, what is she working on? And it's that. So yeah.
Makes sense. You don't want little Timmy to see some cartoon balls.
Right. And I wouldn't like try to copy someone else's design. For sure. What else? I feel like I denied some other stuff too. I won't do any Huck Lab stuff. Apparently they're really crazy about people trying to copy theirs, so I've never done that. I've been asked dozens of times, but I haven't done one of those.
Yeah. Again, my recommendation is trying not to copy any else's artwork like Huck Labs or Lore or Disney. For like bed designs, that's I think a little bit more difficult because it's more generic unless there's like something that is super very specific, but yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Just the stencil stuff you gotta be careful with.
Yeah. How has the disc dyeing market changed since you've started? Like, what have you noticed that has been emerging, or any other things that you've just noticed?
I've noticed that in general, dyers kind of, it used to be like we all had our own like specific little style that we did, sort of thing. And there was a lot more like gatekeeping around certain techniques. If you knew how to do something, you didn't want to like tell other people how to do it because it kind of gave you like a competitive advantage. There's less of that, and it seems like people are more open with like sharing how to do stuff. And then there's, like we talked about before, there's just so much more competition. I almost feel like the market is saturated at this point.
Yeah, it is. At least in my mind, which you have to find ways to stand out. And if you had to start now, what would you do to stand out from the crowd?
I think I would try to specialize. I would pick like either a style that I'm really good at or that I really like and just focus on that instead of what I kind of did at the beginning was just everything. Yeah, and I would either pick customs or mass produce whatever the thing is that you've decided that you like or you're really good at. I would just pick something and get really, really good at that one thing instead of trying to be good at everything.
Yeah.
I think that's a good way to try to stand out.
No, that's a good point, for a few reasons. One, you can keep it simple because then you can master that process, the workflow, and get that streamlined.
Yep.
Second, it's easier to market yourself on one thing rather than trying to do everything. That would be hard for me because I like to do everything.
Same.
Which if you do everything, it's fine, but it is easier to market one thing. And the other thing is you will stand out if it is a unique design and pattern. If someone sees something like that, they'll be like, hey, this is a Happy Tree Dyes dye type thing. So you're building like a logo per se, but your brand identity with your disc design to stand out.
Right. Even if you're doing stencils and it's just like a specific genre of stencil, like, I don't know, like you do like cartoons, or you do not copyrighted ones, of course, but
yes.
But you know what I mean. I don't know. You do like all your stencils are like food related, or all your stencils are whatever. Just pick like one thing and be the best at that thing.
Yeah. The other tip that I would give is a lot of people just post their dyed discs. I would highly recommend getting behind the camera and showing your face. The reason for that is you as the artist want to tell your story of why you're doing this and how you're doing this, so you can get followers that relate to you. So you can build that audience of like-minded people, because people that like you will buy from you. And they're not just buying the artwork, they're buying the person that created the artwork and the meaning behind the artwork. So I know it can be scary to be in front of a camera. I still am really bad for the camera. It just takes practice. And that's, again, another way to stand out is, besides like someone seeing your unique design, seeing your beautiful face.
Definitely. That's a great tip, especially for, like we talked about Instagram earlier. They prefer like videos and reels now over photos. So even if it's just like a quick reel with like you with the disc or whatever, it's going to help.
Yeah.
I shouldn't be the one saying it, but but yeah.
Yeah. It, like I said, having a story behind the reason why you do your artwork, people buy that rather than just the art. So grab out your iPhone and start filming. What do you wish you had known when you first started your disc dyeing business?
Honestly, I wish I would have known about all of the boring stuff behind the scenes, and how much time that was really going to take compared to the actual dyeing of the discs. I knew it was going to take time, but it turned out to be like just a lot more than what I thought. Especially just like the back and forth with the customers. That I was like on my phone constantly, which was weird because I had never been on my phone that much before. Yeah, it takes a lot of time. Every little thing that you think about, like taking the pictures and mixing the dye and rinsing off the discs, drying off the discs, cleaning off all the discs before you dye them. Like all of that takes time and it adds up.
Yeah, and that is one of my goals with these business side of disc dyeing, is to show people that may want to get into this how much there actually is. Not to just discourage people from doing it, but to give them a good reality check. That sounds bad. Setting their expectations
Yes.
for that. And that brings another idea that I might do, is basically listing out all the things that are involved with the disc dyeing business, and like maybe rough timelines or time frames for that. I think that might be helpful.
It could be extremely helpful. And I think nowadays it would be even more time because I think you need to spend a lot more time on your social media than before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that brings up another good point is you want to be front of mind with people. So you want people to see your work. And to do that, you need to create and pump out a lot of content to stay top of mind, either organically or you can pay for it as well. I wouldn't recommend paying for it right away, but seeing what organic content works first, and you can promote stuff that works better. But producing a shit ton of content to keep in front of people's eyeballs. That's important.
Yep. Yep. I think that's way more important than it was before.
Yes, you must bow down to the social media algorithm gods.
Yep.
As sad as it may be, yeah. I mean, you can be successful if you're doing stuff locally and in person. But if you definitely want to do stuff online, you have to whore yourself out.
Right. Or at least like try to sell in your local disc golf store. We didn't even talk about that. That's really important. It can be big for your business too.
Well, let's talk about it.
No, let's talk about it. Yeah. Just stomp up on in there with some of your dies and say, hey, can I sell these at your store?
And that's it. And there's like, yeah, why not?
Yeah.
So, few questions on that, because one, that can be intimidating to do. Two, the dyer doing it may not even know what is a fair price to, or, you know, a deal to work out with the store. And the store may not even know what is a good deal if they've never done something like this before. What would you recommend to a dyer coming in? Like, how would you do that exchange, and what kind of deal would be fair and that makes sense in your mind?
Well, when I did it first with Disc Crazy, what was the deal? I think the deal was they paid me, it was like $12 to $15 per disc. So you got to think like they're buying the discs for $10, we'll say $8 to $10, right? And then they're paying you $12 to $15. So they're $25 in on the disc at that point. And then you can typically sell those between $35 and $40 in store. So it's usually a good deal for the store. They're making money. You're making money. You're getting all of your, you know, you're getting your brand out there at least. So that's what I did. And I think that's, from what I've heard, what most people do when they make that deal.
Gotcha. So. Were they providing the disc, or were you?
Oh yeah, right. So I would just go in and they would just let me grab like 15 to 20 discs to take home to dye whichever ones I wanted, and then bring them back. So that's how we would do that. But I guess you could do it either way. I don't know. If you could somehow get them wholesale, I guess.
Yeah. No, I've heard a couple different ways. One was the way that you described. Two was basically just selling dye discs that you did from the discs that you bought to the shop, which I don't think you can make as much money. And if you find a golden egg where you can have it in the shop in consignment, like there's a local plate against Sports by Us where he doesn't even charge anything. It's like whatever you sell, you make. He's just happy to bring in customers. So there's a wide variety of things that you can work out. Figure what makes sense for you. But if you can find a deal where, you know, they don't charge anything fantastic, but the deal that you, Jillian, that you worked out with them is also a pretty good deal.
Yeah, I think it is. It's a pretty good deal for both parties, I think.
Yeah. Did they ever limit you of how many that you could dye and have in stock?
I think at first they did because they weren't sure how well they were going to sell. But then they just kind of opened the floodgates. They were like, you can literally do as many as you want. We can't keep them on the shelves. So yeah.
But you were the exclusive artist in there, right? Or were there other dyers in that store?
Yes, I was the only one. I was the first and only one. And then eventually they asked me to come on full time.
Do you sell any other dyer's dyes in your shop?
No. I would though. Like if somebody would come, I totally would.
No, it's mine. No. Huh. Yeah, so definitely go check out your shops. If they don't have any dye disc, talk with the shop owner and work your magic. And also, you do disc dyeing classes at the shop. How has that been?
Yes, those are always so fun. We try to do them once a month now. I started doing them recently where they can just come and dye for free. So we'll just have a bunch of white discs set out, and then they can pick one of those and buy it, and then just come back and dye it for free. But that's been going really, really well. I think the last one I did, it was 20 to 30 people came through in like a 6-hour period. So it was pretty busy.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
That is a lot of people.
Yeah, definitely. It makes our store kind of unique and gives the people a reason to come in. So that was kind of my goal with it. But we used to set them up where they could pay to take the class, like bring their own disc if they wanted. And then I think we did, I don't know, I think it was like $15 for adults to come and dye a disc. So you can really do it either way. Depends on what your goals are.
Yes. If you would like to make extra income teaching classes, the Dyers Guild can help you out. We have a certified instructor program plus a bunch of other stuff. So if you're interested in something like that, check out the Dyers Guild website. I forget specifically where, but you should be able to find it. If not, just reach out. So yeah. Is there anything else that you would like to share with the audience about your journey or the disc dyeing business in general?
I don't think so. I think we got everything.
Okay, we're done. Great, bye. All right. So how can people find you and connect with you if they can't get commissions anymore, but if they just have any questions that they would like to ask you?
Yeah, I mean, if you all have any questions about getting started or anything related to what we talked about today, Instagram's probably your best bet. Just Happy Tree Dyes.
Fantastic. All right, Jillian, thank you very much for being on. I appreciate it. And until next time, guys, we'll talk to you later. Find your line, craft your piece. Bye.
Bye.